So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar entitled Configure, Quote, Win, introducing the SQiBLE Product Configurator. My name is Tony Hammond. I'm the Sales Executive at SQiBLE, and I'm joined today by our resident expert, Keith Osborne, and Erin Bombell from our marketing department in the background. Today, we're going to be talking about a tool that is fundamentally changing how businesses handle complex sales. A common problem. For many businesses, manual configurations are slow, quoting is complex, and the lack of integration leads to errors and a loss in sales. Sales teams often have to rely on engineers or more senior members of the team to ensure that quotes are actually something that you can build. That process in itself takes time, or rather it's time consuming, and therefore it's very costly. So what is SQiBLE's Product Configurator? At its core, it's a tool that saves time by enabling your sales teams or even your administration staff to produce a quote. It can even enable your customers to select their own product preferences using guided rules-based logic to dynamically limit options, so to only what can be built. This automates custom configurations, it accelerates quoting, and it can create a full costed bill of manufacture immediately. It translates your engineer's knowledge into the configurator's rules so that you no longer need to engage them for what would otherwise be a simple quote. To take us through this today in more detail, I'd like to introduce you to our resident expert, Keith Osborne. Keith is a veteran of ERP implementation, seeing them from both sides of the fence, first as a user and now as an ERP consultant for the last 20 years. He has a solid track record of turning factories around by helping them make better choices within their ERP systems. He's also an experienced product planner, so a very good person to have on our side of the fence, and somebody who has well versed in planning, scheduling, forecasting. He's worked for companies such as Cadbury Schweppes, Confectionery, Kiwi Australia, and BHP Billiton. And he's worked for Infor for 18 years before joining SQiBLE about 10 years ago. So welcome, Keith. If you could please take us through the SQiBLE Product Configurator.
Thank you, Tony. I'll just share my screen. Hopefully that is appearing.
It is, thank you.
Okay, the scenario is we are a business that configures vehicles. We import and we do custom tweaks for the customers. And we have a dealer on the phone, and he is going to talk us through the options that we are going to select. So we are looking at our brain product here, which is a combination of a sales order entry tool that has purchasing and inventory, but we are going to focus on the configurator. We start on the quoting screen. So I'm going to create a new quote, and I'm going to choose Sunny Auto World, and at their main address, and we're going to ship it from the main warehouse. So I've created our quote header, and now we're going to add the lines. Now, this can be a standalone system, or it can fully integrate with ERPs and CAD systems. So you can actually do quotes for standard items that you have a price for that you don't configure. But here today, I'm going to show you how we work through a configured item, such as this car. The customer wants one, and we don't know the price yet. So we add that line to our order, and being a configured item, we have these little gears here that represent the configure button. So I launch the configuration for this particular item. And which sort of car do we want to configure? The convertible or the concept sedan? Let's go the concept sedan. Our first choice is door panels. And all of these door panels will fit that vehicle, because as you make a selection, your further selections are limited to only things that go with what you've already picked. I like these headlights. And these tail lights. Take the dash with the subtle red line around the edge, like this dash. And again, we'll go for the black seats with a subtle red trim around them. Choose our wheels, tyres. Of course, we could be displaying the price of these options as we went, but we haven't in this model. And what paint colour do we want? Red, of course. Now, so far, we've chosen all of the things that we have to have. We have to have wheels, seats, lights, etc. But we don't have to have any of this, so these are optional. So now we're kind of in a loop where we can choose. We'll take the tinted windows, and it comes back to, I want to add more options. Well, yes, I do. Let's go the sport suspension. Do we want more options? No. So at this point, we can finish our quote. The next screen, we can add notes. Someone would like this before Christmas. Any feedback from the client? And finally, we can choose our margin. We can see that the car is going to cost us $43,000 or nearly $44,000. What markup do we want? Let's try for 30%. That gives us a price of $57,000 and a bit. We know the customer said they only want to pay $56,000, so we better drop our margin a little. That's $54,000. We can do better. Let's try 26%. $55,400. Pretty sure I might get a sale at that, so I am going to hit update the estimate. I come back to my quote lines, do a refresh on that page, and now I have a price. At this point, I could print off my quote and send it to the customer. Now, the good thing is I've been able to build that quote, and I'm just a sales team member. I'm not an automotive engineer, and I don't know what options, if I was to be exposed to all of the options, can actually go together in a vehicle that we can build. But because I was led by the nose through the configurator, following rules defined by our engineers, I am able to make a valid set of selections, and I know that we can build that particular model. So the quote can be sent to the customer, and let's see if they accept it. But let's talk about what goes on under the bonnet. So this is driven by a set of prompts that the users define. In this case, it would have been the engineers that know how to build the products. Prompts can be of different types. Here's a main menu prompt. So when we first selected on our customer order or customer quote that we wanted that particular vehicle, it took us to prompt 50,007 because that's the starting point. If we also sold cardboard boxes, then those items might lead us to prompt 20,000, and prompt 20,000 might ask, do you want a pizza box, a gift box, or some other box? But in this case, it took us to this menu. Let's have a look at that main menu. There were two choices. There was the concept sedan or the concept convertible. Didn't matter which choice we chose, it would then lead us to prompt 50,900. So let's go back and look at prompt 50,900. And it actually takes us to our first question, which was the door panels. Now, at that point, it actually displayed items that were in our database. In this case, those items are entered into our ERP, which we then integrated with this system. So those pictures of the door panels you saw were all loaded into the ERP, interfaced with our system here. And to only show door panels, we set a filter called door panel, which means we use something in our ERP data that says this is a door panel. We could have made it different and said these are door panels for the convertible, because they're bigger doors on a convertible typically, and these are door panels for the sedan. That was an option that we've got, and the filter that defines door panel might not just be on one field in the database. It might be on multiple fields that define whether it's a fabric panel, which is suitable for a sedan, but not suitable for a convertible. You probably need vinyl or leather in case it gets a few drops of rain. So we can set item filters, and all of those selections we saw were items in the ERP. That's the lights, the wheels, etc. There's the prompts, and at all stages, the flow of the dialogue with the end user is controlled by these prompts. The item filters can also be extended using variables. For example, if we choose one component and let's say we're configuring a box, then the box might be 1 meter long, and we can actually get, if we've got in our ERP that box is 1 meter long, then when we come and select a lid, the filter for the lid would say only show lids that are more than 1 meter long, so that they actually fit over the box, or lids that actually suit 1 meter boxes. So you can actually refine it so that whatever that is offered and selected by the user is a perfectly valid option. The other thing that we have within the system, and I've just touched on it, is variables. So we can get data from the data that's held in our ERP about the items, their lengths, their widths, their weights, etc. And we can perform calculations. In this instance, this is a sample of one of our customers' data, and they make anodes. So they pour molten metal into a mold that is thinner at the bottom than the top, so that when you turn it upside down, the thing falls out, and it's got a lump of steel through it. So they actually calculate the weight of the lump of steel through the middle for a complex formula, using the specific gravity of the steel that goes through the middle, multiplied by the volume. They then work out the anode weight, and it's the weight of the anode, which is the weight of the insert plus the molten metal that they put in the mold. Very complex. And the person who used to do the quotes using complex spreadsheet no longer does them. The receptionist does it, because all of this logic and arithmetic is built into the configurator. There's a couple of very special variables. One is new item number, which would be a new SKU in the database, a new SKU, if the customer decides they want it. Now, one of the ideas is you don't actually put all of these items that you've quoted on, new item numbers, into your ERP unless the customer actually says they want it. So, as well as performing formula with the variables, performing arithmetic, we can concatenate strings. So as they choose each option, it's building a new item number by putting together codes, if you like, that form all of the elements to make a new part number, which is kind of, might be less than 20 characters or so. But then we can also build a description that fully describes all of the things that are going into that car. And if it doesn't already exist and the customer accepts the quote, then there's a magic button to create that new item in our brain system here. And that, of course, flows back to the ERP. So if it goes ahead, your new item is created. You copy the order, the quote, to an order for that item, and the whole thing goes ahead. So it really can streamline your quoting process. You get quicker turnaround to your customers, and you don't have to wait for an engineer to actually pull together all of the elements and ensure that what you've quoted on is something you can actually build. It can all be done by sales team or possibly receptionist, or if you wish, we could push this out to your website or your sales portal so the customers could select their own configurations. I think that's about it. Back to you, Tony.
Thanks, Keith. So we're going to have a look at Q&A. There's a couple of questions that have come through via email. Keith, the first one's a three-part question. So you mentioned that the product integrates with ERP and CAD. So if you could elaborate on that. But they're also asking, is it platform agnostic, meaning can it be used with any of those products, and does it stand alone?
Yeah, sure. This demo that I gave you was actually all of those items were drawn from an ERP, and the finished bill of manufacture was actually fed back to the ERP. So it's actually, we can interface to any ERP. That's easy for us. It's what we do. It depends on how good is your ERP at sharing its data and accepting input from external systems. Most are pretty good these days. The other option you've got is if you push it back to a CAD system, which already has 3D images of those elements that you put together, your CAD system could possibly render a 3D model of the item that you're looking for. Was there a question I missed there, Tony?
Can it stand alone?
Yes, it completely can stand alone. Absolutely. And if it does stand alone, it comes with our brain package that includes inventory management, production, and the configurator. It enables you to process customer orders, ship the orders. It also has handheld warehouse barcoding facilities, and so it sort of handles your purchasing and your selling. It integrates with accounting packages like Xero or MYOB, or it can be. We haven't done all yet, but again, that's not a problem for us. It's how friendly is that accounting package for interfacing.
Okay, thank you. And the second question I have is, you mentioned, or rather, sorry, they're asking, companies have very complex builds and very complex build rules. How difficult is it to translate that knowledge into the configurator? And once it goes live, who is typically responsible for managing those rules?
It needs to be the engineers or the production people, the people in your business who know how to make the products and what those rules are. We teach them how to define those rules via the prompts, set up variables, perform calculations, create new item numbers, and we guide them as to how to come up with a flow to ensure they ask all of the right questions and end up building a complete bill of manufacture for their complex product.
Great, thank you. Well, thanks, Keith, for that excellent presentation and demonstration. I think as Keith's demonstrated today, it's not just about the software, it's about solving critical business problems. It's about ending those bottlenecks of slow manual configurations and enabling your team from sales to admin to front desk to produce fast, accurate, and buildable quotes instantly, saving you time, freeing up your engineers from endless quoting to do what they do best and focus on engineering. So we're going to wrap that up there today. If there are any other questions, please email them through to tony@sqibble.com.au, that's myself, or you can also call me alternatively on 0403 938 027, or go straight through our website and request the time for an independent consultation. Thanks very much for joining today. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.